The opposition to the Amendment 2 proposal to raise the minimum wage includes a variety of business groups and companies, large and small.
And they say the costs are too high, especially as we've been talking about in this COVID-wrecked economy, and could hurt the very people it's meant to help. Carlos Gazitua is here to explain that, South Florida restaurant owner, and today representing the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. Carlos, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Glenna.
Carlos, we're glad to see you. All right, let you answer the accusations that Mr. Morgan just made in that last segment, where he says if you're going to say you're going to have to lay off your bussers and dishwashers and people at restaurants across the state of Florida, that's a lie. What is your response?
Well, my response is that in spirit, we all want to increase wages, especially for those that are the low income workers, right? Because at the end of the day, what I think Mr. Morgan is indicating is that we want to increase purchasing power for those workers. Unfortunately, how this amendment was written and how it was done was incorrect. And it's actually going to hurt and have unintended consequences. So let's go through them. First, this was a constitutional ballot. The last time we increased minimum wage here in the state of Florida, we did it through the legislature. Right now, he put it through the Constitution. What he didn't discuss was this increase per wage not only increases the wage of just the average worker. Yeah. It wasn't very industry specific.
Carlos, if I can interrupt you, I think all reasonable people would agree doing this by statute is better than doing it constitutionally. But speak to the issue of how many employees who work in this huge industry in the state of Florida would lose their jobs if the pay is raised by $1 an hour over the course of 5 or 6 years.
Let's be specific. For example, if you go to, we did our study on the Florida Restaurant Association website. The way this is written, it increases our cost over $1 million for just 6 restaurants. Okay, no small business can absorb that cost without doing what we saw in Seattle, what we saw in San Francisco. Remember, this is not an opinion piece. This is actual facts. Okay, it increases technology. It increases prices because the businesses obviously can't float that. It's cut costs and cut benefits. Why? Because not one politician has come up with a plan to resolve the living wage issue. We even have politicians that understand this, that are a Democrat like Andrew Yang understands this. The $15 wage, he said, would hurt all small businesses because everyone has a different economic model. To really resolve this issue takes industry-specific focus. Miami is different than Ocala, different than Jacksonville, okay? Having a one-size-fits policy has not worked, and it's going to have unintended consequences, and we're already seeing it throughout the state. Now, we talk about ill timing during this pandemic. I mean, right now you think, oh, big businesses can afford this. Really? What happened yesterday, Michael? Disney just announced 11,000 people will be fired by the end of December. This is Disney, who has more vertical channels than most big businesses, right?
So Carlos, pardon me for interrupting. We're just on a time schedule, and I want to be able to get you to be able to give as much information as possible. But to your point, the legislature is sort of the body that's supposed to do this statutorily, but have not, which is why John Morgan worked so hard to put this to the people. So there are, factually speaking, people making minimum wage who cannot afford to buy groceries and to put their lights on at the same time. I'm not certain, we don't know what you pay your workers, but we all can acknowledge that minimum wage is not a livable wage in Miami, to your point. So what is the answer then, right now in COVID, to help the people we live among make a minimum or make a wage that they can live on and that their families can live on?
Well, I think first is getting data, right? Don't make a policy decision when you don't have data. No, he doesn't know what the starting wage is here in Miami. He doesn't know, and neither do I. Because you know why? There's no transparency wages here in our state. I don't know what my competitor charges for a starting wage. If you want to talk about market and capitalism, when Target increases their wages, guess what happens? Walmart does. Same economic model, just like that, increases wages, right? So the first step is get data before making a decision. That's what any business owner, anyone who understands is get the data first, and then create transparency. When you go to Amazon, you compare products. You understand what they cost, the reviews. So that's step one. Next step is how do we talk about focusing and being strategic to help those who make less? So there's an earned income tax credit. Right now that lifts 9 million people out of poverty every year. Did you know that the state of Florida, 1 out of 5 recipients can make $6,000 more a year by just applying, and 1 in 5 don't? So if we create programs that focus on low-income workers, because at the end of the day, we don't want to increase purchasing prices. We have more seniors in the state of Florida than any other state. The goal is increase purchasing power for the low-income workers, but don't increase prices for those like seniors who have less discretionary income. Figure out a solution by being industry specific. Go to the legislature, create alliances. That's what we should be doing now, not creating a law that we're going to say our market is constantly moving. We need not the constitutional ballot. We need a legislator that listens to industries on how to increase people's wages up. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened, but it's going to take industry leaders as well as people like John Morgan to come in together and say, let's create a solution that works. But right now, for all the voters out there, Amendment 2 is a pass, okay? Because even if you're for this, and even if you like it, the way it was done was wrong. And unfortunately, that's why you need to get people that are industry specific to help those low wage workers without the least amount of impact for our consumers,
All right.
for
Carlos, I'm going to have to cut you off there. We appreciate your time this morning. May I say, I like eating at Sergio's, your restaurants. They're terrific. And good luck. We'll see what happens. 60% high bar to pass here on any of these amendments. Carlos Gazitua, thanks very much.
Thanks, Carlos.